So in our last session, we'll look into one of the oldest algorithms which we have been using. That is the algorithm is called the Euclidean algorithm. This is because, like, again, so we have lots of results in mathematics which are named after people, but in most cases, the name given is not the first person who has come up with it. That always happens. The same is true for Pythagoras theorem. Pythagoras theorem, definitely the Greeks and Pythagoras knew about this theorem. There's no doubt about that. But then, even before that, other civilizations also knew. The Indians knew, the Babylonians knew, the Egyptians also knew this relationship. And curiously, for Pythagoras theorem, there is a sort of a pictorial proof also given in Indian text. Right. So we saw those who couldn't attend the session, which was 2 weeks before. You can maybe just look at the end of the video where this is discussed. So now we will continue from here. The way Euclid in his book, the way he discusses this algorithm was slightly different. So he basically discusses this algorithm in two aspects. One is algebraically, this similar to what we discussed last time, and also geometrically. We discussed this also. So now we will consider this question, which was a very important question for the Greek mathematicians. It was they who started this line of questioning. Now, suppose we have different lines of different lengths. Okay, we will just take with two lines of two different lengths. Let us take that. Now, I try to I'll just give name. I'll just call this as L1 and this as L2. So now I will try to measure L2 using L1. Okay. I first mark off a unit of L1 here. Then I mark off another unit. And then, then say that the next unit overshoots this. Okay, let us just imagine that I can take 2 times L1, and then there is a bit of a remainder here. A remainder whose length is less than L1. Okay, so now the challenge is this. Can we find a smaller length? Okay, can we find a smaller length? We'll call it D, using which I can exactly measure without leaving any remainder both L1 and L2. So I repeat again, we have two different line segments of some two particular lengths. We'll just give the names to it, L1 and L2. Now, and suppose it happens that L1 does not exactly measure L2 in the sense that it leaves some remainder towards the end. Okay. Suppose if L1 is 2 centimeters and if another line is of 4 centimeters, then if I'm looking for a measure that will measure both of this exactly, then I can use 2 centimeters. So 1 time 2 centimeters this, and 2 times 2 centimeters this. Okay, but now we have L1 and L2, and L1 does not measure L2 or does not divide L2 in a arithmetic sense. Now, with this being the case, how do we find out a smaller length, a smaller unit? We'll just call this D, which exactly measures L1 and L2 in integral number of terms. So what method can we use to find D? So just you can put the answer in chat privately to me. Shivkumar, my name is Shivkumar. What method can we use to find a smaller length which can exactly measure L1 and L2? So if you don't understand the question, you can put it in the chat, or you can unmute and ask again. Ask, I'll repeat again. The question is, what method can we use to find this smaller unit?
HCF.
So you can put the answer in chat, sir. Now the thing is, just imagine that we don't have any scale with us, any marked scale with us, but we have just some straight edges. Okay, and we are just given these 2 lines. So we are not in a position to find its length. But we need to find another smaller length which we can cut using a scissor, or we can mark using some pencil or something. So one question is, for given any 2 lengths, so here we have L1 and L2, can we always find a length, a smaller length, which will exactly measure the given 2 lengths? That is one question. So Raisa ma'am, you feel that no matter what the 2 lengths are, I can always find a smaller length that will measure exactly these 2.
Hello, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. So Pushpa ma'am, we can talk about factors when we are having integers, right? But then when we have some two arbitrary line segments, then how can we talk about its factors? Okay, now we will take two lines, specific lines. Let us take a square. Let me take a square. Okay, and let me take its diagonal. So we will CD. So now we want a common measure. We want a common measure for the side of the square that is AB, and the diagonal. And diagonal AC. Okay, so can we? So now, how do we find it? How do we? So I have seen some. I'm seeing some answers. So how do you use this answer to try to find a common measure for this geometrically?
So root 2 into AB will give AC.
Okay, sir. But the question is
AB is equal to AC by root 2.
okay, fine. But the question is, what value should I choose so that some integer times that this value must give me AB, and some other integer times the same value must give me AC. So here what you are saying is AC is root 2 times AB, right? This is what you are saying. But I'm just looking at integral multiples. Okay, so what unit should I choose, which upon placing integral number of times, I get both AB as well as AC. Gauri ma'am, also will such a common measure always exist? So this question actually, as I was saying, the Greeks were like one of the first to take up this question. Now say you have many different lengths. Say you have many different ropes of many different lengths. Okay, and say we don't have any fixed unit system. So now we have a fixed unit of a centimeter, millimeter, and so on. But at that time, it was not like there was no universal unit of measurement. Okay, so trying to get a unit was always done ad hoc. Okay, so now say we have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different ropes of different lengths. So what should be the unit chosen? What should be the unit length? What should be the unit length? So that all these 5 lengths have some integer length. So I want this to be 2 units, this to be 4 units, this to be 6 units, this to be 1 unit, and this to be 3 units. Okay, so you see that all these are integers, 4, 2, and so on. But then for all these to be integers, I need to choose a unit appropriately, isn't it? Only then I can get all the given lengths to be an integral multiple of the unit. So this is a general problem. But then we start with just 2 lengths. We just start with 2 lengths. And how do you find a unit? This is one question. But then a more basic question is, will a unit always exist? Will a unit always exist for any 2 given lengths such that both of them have integer lengths?
One unit is common.
Sir?
One unit.
One unit.
Because, yeah, one is HCF for all the any numbers.
Any numbers. Okay, sir. So now, so this was also like, but then how will you determine that one unit? Now, suppose I have some random lengths like this. Okay. Now I have some random lengths like this. How will I determine that one unit length? Suppose if it was like 3.3 centimeters, 4.4 centimeters, then 6.1 centimeter, 1.8
Okay.
centimeter, and 4.9 centimeters. So now 1 centimeter is not the appropriate unit here because I don't have integral lengths, right? So now
Okay. Yes. Yes.
we're looking at what should be the unit for given this length. What should be unit so that all of them are integral lengths. So as many of you felt, the Greeks also felt that no matter how in their earlier days, they felt that no matter what the two given lengths are, I can always find a unit such that both these lengths have integer lengths. This is what they were strongly believing in until one incident happened. Okay, so Gauri ma'am has given a reply. Okay, fine. So Gauri ma'am, we will see. So the Greeks also, like for a long time, they were strongly believing that given any two lengths, there is a common length which will measure both of them integral number of times. They're very sure until who is this? Okay, until they started analyzing the side of a square and the diagonal of a square. Okay, let us see what will happen here. Okay, so I'll just so this investigation of Greeks gave them such a shock that there's a story that one of the mathematicians committed suicide when he realized something here. So I'll just come to that. I'll just ask it as a question here. So now we'll just take this triangle outside in the square ABCD. I'll just take this triangle ABC out. So A, B, C. Now these two sides are equal because this is part of a square, and this is the hypotenuse. Okay. So now the question is there a common measure for? So is there a common measure for AB and AC? This was the question which they started with. Now, okay. Before proceeding, we'll just consider this relationship. Now, suppose I have two lengths, length A and length B. We'll just call length A and length B. Now, if there is a common measure for A and B, that is, I'll just call it M. So M it measures both A and B, integer number of times. Let's just keep it there. Now the question is, will M measure the difference of B and A? That is this distance. So what we know is M will exactly measure A. That is, if I keep it integer number of times, it will exactly measure A without remainder. And I also know that M will exactly measure B. Now the question is, will M exactly measure this difference between the lengths? That is B minus A. What do you think?
When decimal form comes the difference, then difficult.
Okay, okay. But then m also could be in a decimal form in whatever unit you're referring to. M could also be in a decimal form. So it all depends on the unit, isn't it? But one thing what we know is m measures the length b perfectly, right? Okay,
Yes.
so now
Yeah.
let us do one thing. Let us try to mark m in b. Okay, so we have this m once, twice, thrice, and so on. Okay, and then the last would be somewhere here. The last would be here, and then there's a remainder. But we also know that m measures a, right? So if you just cut off this region, cut off a from b. If you just cut off this region, now we know that this length is a, right? Now since
Yes.
m measures a, what we can say, at what point will, now we'll just call this point D, this point D. So now as I keep placing this m again and again, will it coincide with D at any point? Will the endpoint of m coincide at D at any point of time? We know that m measures a. So if I keep placing m along a, I know that it'll exactly end here, right? So if I place m along this length b also, you will see that it must exactly end at this point D. And then remaining, I have B minus A. And since M measures B as a whole, M will also measure this region also exactly. So M will measure B minus A also. So we'll just use this observation here for this sides of a square and the diagonal. Now the question is, can it have a common measure? So Gauri ma'am, I saw your reply, so you can answer it now. You can turn on the mic and answer now.
Uh, so there will be a common measure for integer values and rational values, but here the diagonal would be irrational. So it looks like common measure is not possible.
Looks like so. Okay. So the question is, if there is a so if one is an irrational number, then a common measure is not possible, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The Greeks actually. So there is one way of geometrically seeing why this is the case. Okay. Okay. So now we will see. We have this side. So the common measure of AB and AC. Is it there or not? This is the question. This is the question we have in our hand. So now we will do some simplification. We know that if at all there's a common measure for AB and AC, then that same measure will be between AB and the difference of AC and AB, right? So what? So this is one method of seeing it. Let us take this length AB. Let us take a compass and cut an arc on AC here. Okay, we'll just call this point to be D. Okay, so now we have AB is equal to AD. Okay, so now from this point D, let me draw a perpendicular. So it meets this point, this line. We'll call this E. Okay. So now can you simplify this relationship? Common measure of AB and AC. So we'll just call this x. We'll call AB to be x, and this is also x. We'll call this to be y. DC to be y. So this is nothing but common measure between x and x plus y. So is there any way to simplify this further?
We don't know C value.
We don't know. We don't know C value, right, sir? Okay, okay. So I'll just try it once again. So A,
Yeah.
B, C. This is D, and from D I'm drawing the perpendicular. So this and this are equal, x, x, and I call this as y. Call this point E. So this is not drawn exactly to scale. Okay, so now we don't know what is CE, right? That is true. That is true. We do not know what is CE, but there is one relationship between. Okay, let me just redraw it. There is one relationship
correct.
between DE and EB. Can you figure it out?
D and EB.
DE and EB. Let me just join A and E. Again, I'm not drawn to the scale, so it is the figure is very misleading. Maybe you can draw a better estimate of the figure in your paper. And check it out. But one thing, we know that the initial right triangle we started was an isosceles right triangle, right? Because it's a part of a square. Now we'll just look at triangle CDE. Triangle CDE. It is a right triangle clearly, but is this also an isosceles right triangle? What can you say about angle C? What can you say about angle C?
45 degree.
45 degree.
Right. So angle C is 45 degree because the initial right triangle is an isosceles right triangle part of a square. So now,
Yeah.
Yeah. Angle E is also 45.
Right. So angle DEC is also, so this is 45.
It is also an isosceles
So DEC is also an isosceles right triangle.
triangle. So it will be Y. D is Y.
Exactly. So we have found out what is D. D is also Y.
Y.
Right. So now there is a relationship between D and EB. Can you spot it out?
So C value comes as root 2 y.
Which one, sir?
Integer.
C.
Square root of 2 y is coming.
Okay.
C value.
Okay.
But it's not integer.
Correct.
Right.
Right. But there is some link between DE and EB.
D.
Can you look at triangles ADE and ABE?
Angle
Yes.
A is B. Angle B is 90.
Do they look like by any chance image of each other? Of course, by the way I've drawn, it doesn't clear it. It doesn't seem so.
AB and AE are equal. Huh?
Which one?
AB and AE.
AB and AE are equal. You're saying AB and AD are equal. So if AB and AD are equal, then AB and AE cannot be equal.
AB and AD. Okay. AB and AD
ABC
are
and
equal.
CD
So
are
AB will
similar.
not possible equal to AE. It's not possible. Because hypotenuse, AE is hypotenuse.
Correct, sir. Correct, sir. Nice.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. A
Nice.
is hypotenuse.
Yeah,
What about-
you're saying something?
Yes. So triangle ABC and CD are similar.
Triangle, which one? AB?
ABC and CDE, they have 90, 45, 45. Oh, is that okay? I don't remember if that makes it a similar triangle.
Fine. It's okay.
Three angles are same, so
Okay. Yeah, they're similar. They're similar.
right. So then the ratio of their sides are equal. So that we should be able to use that to derive a
Same.
relationship.
Thales theorem you are saying.
Okay. So,
Uh,
fine. That is there. That is true. That is true. But here, there's a more simpler relationship. Consider triangle. Consider triangles ADE. Triangle ADE and triangle ABE. Okay. So we see that AD and AB are equal. AD and AB are equal. Okay.
A is common.
Yeah. Huh?
A is common and angle D is equal to angle B.
A is common and angle,
D is equal to angle B.
yeah, both are 90 degrees.
Hmm.
Right? So basically, these two are two right triangles in which two sides are equal.
Two sides are one angle. Yes, yes.
Two corresponding sides. So now, what do you think about D and EB? D is Y. So what would EB be?
AD is equal to AB
Okay.
and A is common. Therefore, we say D is equal to EB.
D
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
Corresponding sides are equal.
equal, right? So basically,
Yes.
I'll be able to overlap one triangle over the other, okay? Because the three of their appropriate the values are same, and so when I'm overlapping one over the other, B will overlap over D, and so B will also be Y,
Yes.
right? So fine. So now that we have made these observations, now can we simplify some? Now the starting question is, can AB and AC have a common measure? That's the question. So this was a question which the Greeks were very much interested with.
AB and AC.
So now it is same as, is there a common measure between x and x plus y? Right? So now can we simplify this further using the observation we made that if M is a common measure for A and B, then M is a common, then M measures B minus A also. Right? So using that, can we simplify this further, this step?
Common measure of x comma y.
Exactly. So if at all there's a common measure for AB and AC, then that is the same as a common measure of x and x plus y. It is the same as a common measure between x and y, right? So we will see where is x. This whole thing is x. This whole thing is x, and this whole thing is y, right? Fine. So now this is same as the common measure of, can you again simplify it further?
Hmm.
Okay, so I'll just, let me just write it as, instead of x, I'll just write it as BC. Okay, and y, I'll just write it as BE.
CE.
I'll just write it as BE.
Yeah,
Okay?
so that
B is also, yeah.
Yeah. So now the common measure for AB and AC is the same as the common measure,
BC
is the
and
same as a common measure for BC and BE. Right? So can this be further simplified?
common measure for B and BE.
Common measure for
AB and BE.
AB and BC. AB.
AC value comes as x plus y and BC value comes as x minus y. Sorry.
BC is also x only, sir.
This is X.
CE, right? By subtraction.
So what do you get by subtraction again?
So common measure of common measure of BC comma BE is equal to common measure of BC comma CE.
BC comma CE or B comma CE.
Or B comma CE, yeah.
Just by taking the difference, BC minus B is CE and B, right? Okay. So now B is Y, right? So there's nothing but common measure of CE and Y, right? So now, does this tell anything? So you start with common measure between the side of a right triangle and its hypotenuse, AB and AC. If at all that's a common measure, that common measure is the same as the common measure between CE and Y.
It's cyclic. That's again the hypotenuse and the side.
Right. So this Y is, again I can write this Y to be this whole thing. So this is nothing but common measure between CE and Y. I can write it as D, right? So the common measure for the initial side and the hypotenuse is, if at all that's a common measure, that same common measure will be there exactly for the smaller hypotenuse, the hypotenuse and the side of the smaller right triangle, right? So this was the first observation of the, so this is the first observation in our journey towards finding if there's a common measure for the side and the hypotenuse. Okay. Now, how can we use this? So, Gauri ma'am, you told what you felt, right? Now, can we use this observation to actually prove what you said? Okay. So, I'll just leave this question. So, let's leave this question and yeah. So you can also try this kind of an equation. So 4x plus 6y is equal to 10. 6x plus 9y is equal to 10. Now we are not looking for all the possible solutions because we can always take different values for x and we'll get different values for y, isn't it? So now we are looking for only integer solutions for x and y. Okay. So can we solve this equation? And is there any connection between this kind of an equation and this water problem? Okay. So this is something which you can try. We'll meet in the next week. And before ending, I just want to give an interesting incident that happened related to an equation of this type, but a more general equation. So here, if you see, right, both x and so I have x and y, and these two are linear terms. Okay. What if you have x squared? Okay. What if you have something like 4x squared plus 1 is equal to y squared? Find all the integer solutions. How will you solve this question? Okay. So these kind of equations have been considered before, and one of the first person to actually study this kind of equations was our Indian mathematician Brahmagupta. Okay, so he said, and he gave a partial solution to this equation. He gave a partial solution of how to solve this equation. No matter what number is here, okay, how to find integer solutions for this. Actually, if you trying this question by trial and error is like very difficult. So here at least we can somehow try it out because both are linear terms. But here you have quadratic terms, power 2. So trying to find what integer value of x and y will fit so that this equation is satisfied is a very difficult thing. But the Brahmagupta gave a very nice method which will solve this problem partially. But then later, Bhaskara too, he comes up and he gives a general method to solve all kinds of equations of this form. Okay, and as an example, he takes this equation 61x squared plus 1 is equal to y squared. He takes this equation and the smallest solution for x and y, smallest integer solution for x and y is like it goes in lakhs. Because the smallest solution goes in lakhs. So look at the power of that method. And this happened. So this happened, I think, at around 12th century or so on. 400 years later, curiously, so this is a great historical. I don't know whether it's an accident or how it happened. So around 400-500 years later, a great French mathematician Fermat, he also considers exactly the same kind of equations. So this kind of an equation was considered by the Greeks also. These kind of equations are called Diophantous equations. So these kind of equations were well known, but it was the Indians who first gave a general method to solve this. That is there. And then after 400-500 years, in Europe, still people did not know a general method to solve this equation. The Greeks had started this question, but they were not able to give a general method. And Fermat, at around 1600s, he studies this equation and he gives a general method. So he gives a general method to solve this question. Okay, and very interestingly, as an example problem, he takes this exact problem which Bhaskara to give. So he considers the exact 61x squared plus 1 is equal to y square. And he finds and he gives a method, and he finds some of the solutions for this. So still, I don't know whether it's a historical accident or we know that Arabs came and transferred some knowledge from India to Europe. Did this also go? That is not clear as of now. And later, so later, since the European mathematicians were not aware of the contributions of Indian mathematicians such as Brahmagupta and Bhaskara, this kind of equations were called Pell's equation. This kind of an equation was called Pell's equation. This was again named by Euler. So Euler thought that it was Pell who first solved this equation. So it was Pell, so he gave his name as Pell's equation. But actually, before Pell, Fermat had solved it, and only recently we came to know that before Fermat, our Indian mathematicians also solved this question. So that's all for today. Think about these questions about the side and the diagonal, and also of these equations, two linear equations, how to find the integer solutions. We'll meet next week. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.